Huh? What's going on? It was supposed to be an ordinary meal, but for some reason my vision began to distort. I started feeling unwell and an intense stomach pain struck me. Sweat poured from my forehead, and before I knew it, I collapsed hard onto the floor. Even in that state, my husband showed no sign of concern. When he finally came into my sight, my husband was smiling to himself. Why? Why does he have that expression? Could it be that I'd collapsed because during my fading consciousness, all I could hear was my husband's delighted voice. Finally, that's over. Without understanding the meaning of his words, I lost consciousness. The next day, our relationship as a married couple took an unexpected turn. My name is Marina Rivers, and I am 30 years old. I studied psychology in college and now work as a middle school counselor. Regardless of age, the size of one's worries still varies from person to person. What may seem trivial to oneself could be a serious concern for others. The opposite is also true. During my student days, I experienced mental distress due to my friendships. I was saved by a counselor through the school's support system. Her influence brought a profound change in my life and gave birth to the dreams within me. Even though I had never harbored any clear ambitions before, my focus shifted towards becoming a counseling psychologist. Having successfully achieved that dream, I now lead a fulfilling life and my days are quite satisfying. Yet, the key to my daily happiness isn't solely attributed to the success of my career. Another reason is due to the presence of my husband Ryan. I've known Ryan since our college days. We met in the same music club, and our relationship transitioned into dating during a college reunion that occurred after graduation. Later, after being together for 3 years, we went from being lovers to being a married couple. Perhaps because we were friends for a long time, our relationship is more akin to being best friends than just romantic partners. Nevertheless, I was convinced that there was no one else I could feel more comfortable with than him. Ryan and I are already 30 years old. 2 years have passed since we got married, and it's about time to start considering having children. However, recently we haven't engaged in such marital activities. The reason is that Ryan's overtime has increased, drastically reducing the time we spend together as a couple. But that doesn't mean it's a problem we can leave unattended. With a knot in my stomach, I decided to confide my feelings to my husband Ryan. Hey, Ryan, can I talk to you about something? On Saturday night, I approached my husband when he came off from working on his day off. In response, he let out a small sigh, briskly. What? His attitude was annoying, but I continued the conversation without letting it bother me. You know, both you and I are already 30 years old, right? I've been thinking about children lately. Why are you bringing all of this up all of a sudden? I'm tired from work, and when I come back, you hit on me with this out of nowhere. It's a mood killer, you know. Yeah, I'm sorry, but these things are things we need to talk about. It's a matter of timing, so why now? You really have a way of being completely oblivious to reading the situation, don't you? No, that's not it. I didn't mean it like that. Anyway, I'm not in the mood to talk about that right now. Regardless, whatever you have to say, think of the timing more, okay? After saying that, my husband walked out of the room with a heavy sigh. Lately, he had been displaying this kind of attitude more often. Until now, whenever I approached him to talk about something, no matter how tired he was, he would face me properly. But when did it change? When did he start refusing to have discussions like this? As I look back, it's clear my husband has changed over the past few months. Perhaps the increase in overtime and significant decrease in quality time as a couple might be the cause. However, no matter how hard I try to make time, it's meaningless if my husband doesn't cooperate. Of course, I want to have children, but with our relationship in this state, it's just not feasible. Whether we decide to have children in the future or not, right now, it's crucial to improve the relationship with my husband. The next day, my husband didn't come out of the bedroom until noon. In the afternoon, when he finally appeared in the living room, I brought up the conversation again. Ryan, I'm sorry about yesterday, but, recently, our time together as a couple has been decreasing, right? I've been thinking that I want to increase the time we spend together like before. Yesterday we talked about children, and today it's something else? You know how busy my work is, right? I understand your work is busy, but with overtime every day and working on the weekends, isn't it a bit too much? Can't you come home on time at least one day? You're being persistent. You don't know I'm working for a reason. For you, Marina. Of course, I know that, and I appreciate it, but I'm working too, and you don't have to push yourself so hard.
This conversation is going nowhere. Sorry, but please stop talking about it for a while.
After saying this in a curt manner, my husband took his wallet and phone and left. With the sound of the door closing, the tension in my heart eased, and before I knew it, tears were streaming down my cheeks. Why? How can he say such things so casually? I just wanted to try and restore my relationship with Ryan even just a little. My husband's words echoed in my mind, and the tears kept flowing without stopping. On that day, I cried out loud for the first time in a long while. However, this was just the beginning of true hell. Since that day, my husband began avoiding me avertedly. We wouldn't even exchange greetings when our eyes met. Even when I called out, "Dinner's ready," he would leave without touching the meal. I mustered the courage to bring up the conversation in an attempt to improve our marital relationship, but it had the opposite effect. Instead, it seemed like I had worsened our relationship by setting up a discussion. During that week, my husband went off to work on his day off again, leaving me alone at home. With nothing particular to do and no motivation to go out, I decided to clean the house. I started by cleaning the living room, and then I extended the cleaning to my husband's room. Lately, I haven't been able to clean his room, so there were quite a bit of trash scattered around. I picked up the trash from the floor and tossed it into the garbage bag. Then I noticed a receipt lying under the dresser. What's this receipt? The receipts are usually white, but this one, when I picked up, it was tinted green. When I looked closely, the receipt was from the French restaurant I had been wanting to visit. I've actually seen someone who went to this restaurant and posted this receipt on social media. Apparently, the restaurant's receipts are quite distinctive. Why does my husband have this restaurant's receipt? Of course, he didn't invite me. From the looks of the receipt, it doesn't seem like he went with a large group. Judging from the number of orders, it must have been around 2 to 3 people. He should have known that I wanted to go to this restaurant. So why wouldn't he tell me about going there? With a bad feeling in my stomach, I decided to search further in my husband's room. I found a large number of receipts in the trash bin, and they were all for 2 people. It seems my husband regularly goes out for meals with someone else. I don't know who the other person is, but the fact that he's not telling me about it means it's someone he doesn't want me to talk about. When I compared the dates on the receipts, some of them were for times he told me he'd be working late. In other words, my husband was lying to me. Perhaps even on the days he said he had to work on his day off were lies. Maybe my husband is having an affair with someone, and these dinners are excuses to meet with her. Once the suspicions start, it's hard to calm down. Feeling that this situation is not good for either of us, I decided to directly confront my husband. That night, as he returned home, past 11 as usual, I immediately brought it up. "Hey, Ryan, is it possible you're having an affair?" Upon hearing my words, my husband briefly widened his eyes in surprise. However, he quickly returned to his usual expression and said with a silent laugh, "Why are you suddenly saying something like that? Affair? I would never do something like that." "Today, while cleaning your room, I found a lot of receipts. It seems like you went to all of these places with someone else. Who were you with?" "It's a colleague from work. I'm having a junior colleague, so I have to pay, right?" "A colleague from work, you say? Really? I would never lie to you, Marina. Why would I cheat when I have you?" "That's fine, but..." My husband said that, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of suspicion. The reason is that usually when I try and talk to him, he responds with an annoyed attitude, but today he was all smiles. However, those smiles seemed forced, not genuine. It was clear that he was hiding something. I had no choice but to find out what it was. Since that day, I started closely observing my husband's words and actions. However, he seemed to be only on guard as well, not showing any openings. In fact, unexpectedly, he became unusually kind, which is something I've never seen before. "Marina, I'll be coming home early today, so let's have dinner together. I'm taking a day off next Saturday. How about we go somewhere? It's been a while. You used to like the cakes from here, right? I bought some, so let's have them after dinner." And so on. His efforts to cheer me up were so overwhelming, I couldn't help but wonder what had been worrying me this whole time. I wish our conversation during this discussion had turned out like this. The fact that my husband suddenly changed like this
Must have been because I mentioned the affair. There's no doubt about it. My husband's having an affair. However, now that he's on guard, it's challenging to gather evidence. As I pondered what to do, one day my husband brought up something unexpected. This Saturday's our anniversary, right? I'll take care of everything. So, shall we celebrate together? Huh? You're gonna prepare everything, Ryan? Yeah, I always make you go through so much trouble. So I'll handle it all, including wine and snacks. That's nice of you, but why all of a sudden? Huh? No, I just genuinely wanted to express my gratitude for everything you do. Is that okay? I have a feeling something unpleasant might happen. I instinctively sensed it. To prepare for the worst-case scenario, I decided to contact my parents in advance. I asked them to come over if they don't receive a call from me on Saturday night. On the day of our anniversary, a few days later, following my husband's instructions, I went to watch a movie after work and then returned home. When I arrived home, I found that the table was already set with various dishes and wine. Welcome back, Marina. I just finished preparing everything. He smiled while saying that, but there was something dubious about his expression. Thank you, I answered with my caution and took my seat. The dishes he made emitted a delicious aroma, but I couldn't bring myself to eat, so I just left the food on the plate untouched. What's wrong? Are you going to eat? He asked with a puzzled look, and I nodded slightly. And he smirked and poured wine into my glass. You don't have to worry about the food, just have this wine at least. I brought it specifically for you, Marina. Huh? But wasn't it open earlier? Huh? I just opened it in advance to let the air out. Come on, have a drink. Thank you? My husband was overly insistent about offering me the wine. Feeling something was off, I pretended to take a sip and quickly ate some food. Right after that. Huh? What's going on? It was supposed to be an ordinary meal, but for some reason my vision began to distort. I started feeling unwell and an intense stomach pain struck me. Sweat poured from my forehead, and before I knew it, I collapsed on the floor. Even in that state, my husband showed no sign of concern. When he finally came into view, my husband was smirking. Why? Why would he have such an expression? Could it be that I collapsed because of... During my fading consciousness, all I could hear was my husband's delighted voice. Finally, that's over. Over? What does that mean? There's so many things I want to say, but my voice won't come out. As I struggled in pain, my husband looked at me with delight. Ah, you can come now. Let's raise a toast together. There's no more obstacles now. From now on, we'll be together forever. Yeah, I love you too. At that moment, the love I felt for my husband turned to ice. Perhaps something was added to the food. My husband had wanted me gone from the start. When I realized this, my consciousness faded away. When I woke up next, a calm-colored ceiling came into my view. Right after that, I heard my parents' voices calling, Marina! Mom! Dad! Ah, I'm so glad you're okay. When I got to your house, you'd collapsed. I was so worried. We're so glad you're safe. We were so concerned about what might have happened to you. Thank you for coming. Where's Ryan? When I asked my parents, they frowned and averted their gaze. As I sat up and looked over where they were avoiding, there on the bed was my husband, looking disheveled, lying next to the young, unfamiliar woman. I was unable to grasp the situation, and even my father began to tell me everything. This man tried to put something in the wine to send you to the hospital. The woman next to him is his mistress. Huh? Something in the wine? Yes. According to the doctor's diagnosis, they didn't find any such substance in your body. It seems to be a stress-induced gastric ulcer. The gastric ulcer? So the stomach pain wasn't because I ate his cooking? Right, it was just stress from living with that man. If you had really drunk the wine, things could have gone irreversibly bad. But why does he look so beaten up? Oh, I got in a fight with him. I threw a couple punches at him. I needed to hand him over to the police afterwards. Upon hearing my father's words, Ryan realized my father meant to turn him over to the police. Feeling flustered, he immediately dropped to his knees and started apologizing to my father. Wait, please! Involving the police isn't that a bit too much? After all, Marina is perfectly fine now. What are you saying? Everyone knows what you tried to do to my daughter. It's no use playing innocent because of you. My daughter went through a terrible ordeal. The wine had already been confiscated. If that incident is reported to the police, it will be the end of you. Please stop it. If you do that, I'll lose my job and my parents. I don't care about that. You conspired with that woman over there to do all of this. I can never forgive someone who treated my precious daughter so poorly. I will never, ever forgive you. That's... With his words cut short, my husband turned and looked at me. With the eyes of a forsaken puppy, he desperately pleaded for me. Please, Marina, forgive me. I'll pay compensation. With that one word, my mind was made up. There was no room for leniency towards a man who couldn't even offer a sincere apology. I shook off my husband's outstretched hand and firmly declared, Compensation? I don't care about that. First, shouldn't you say I'm sorry? Apologizing for something wrong is a simple thing even a child can understand. But you can't even do that. It was the right decision to not have a child with you. What? Wait. Please, I'll apologize properly. It's too late now. No matter what you say from now on, I will never forgive you. Just hurry up and get caught by the police so you can face your consequences of your actions. Well, even after you're released, you won't have anywhere left to belong, will you? I don't want this to happen. Help me. No. My husband clutched his head and continued to scream as if he'd gone mad. At that moment, the police officer my father had called arrived and took my husband and the woman he cheated on into custody. Later on, my husband and the woman were arrested by the police. At the same time, my husband also lost his job, and through my lawyer, I proceeded with the divorce and claimed for compensation. I don't know how many years it'll be, but for the rest of their lives, they won't be able to walk in the light of day. They did such terrible things. They should face the appropriate punishment. As for me, I resigned from my current workplace to ensure I never see my ex-husband again. I moved to a neighborhood state and changed my workplace to a hospital and began working as a clinical psychologist. From now on, I'll live for myself alone. I made up my mind about that. I can't thank my parents enough for saving me that day. From now on, my top priority is being a good daughter to my parents and leading a peaceful life.